And the required souls? Do I have what I need?
You have acquired 57.235% of the required number.
That little? Well then.
You need to understand that he's taking the lives of people so that he can
I've gained
become
a
a
new
demon
skill.
lord. So
I
the
doubt I'll have
required
many
number of
chances to
souls
use
is
it. Might as well see
10,000
what it's
souls,
capable
meaning
of.
that 10,000 people
Question.
have to die.
Would you like to
And
use
this is
the
a
unique
cartoon,
skill
remember it.
Merciless?
Yes.
So there
Use
he
the
has
unique
killed
skill
at least
Merciless, you
20,000
harvested the
people now.
souls of all the humans within the immediate area. However, the individuals called Admaris and Rahim are excluded as targets.
Seems merciless to me.
Wait a second. What did you just do?
Notice. Checking the status to see if the number of human souls required for the evolution to Demon Lord has been attained. Verified. All conditions have been met. The Harvest Festival will begin momentarily.
So the number of souls that were required for this specific ritual were 10,000.
Oh crap.
And
I suddenly feel so sleepy.
there is a notification that the number of souls have been reached. So meaning that the individual has managed to kill 10,000 souls to be able to practice this specific ritual. Where is the church if animes or if cartoons are showing such things? Imagine that clip you just saw. Someone had to sacrifice 10,000 souls to become what is called a demon lord. And we assume that this is just animation. There is no message in it. I remember another one that I was watching. The person was doing an incantation. And in the incantation, he said, or they said, that they are servants of the devil. And that they were borrowing the devil's power to execute judgment. Now, and we say that these are just animation. One of the saddest things is this. I remember I was in a church. And in the church, the people in the church were forcing people to enter into choir because they said everyone who is youth should be active in church. But then if I'm not gifted in the ability to sing, I should not be in the choir. The youth amongst them, there were people that were animators, people who loved drawing. Amongst them were people who were app developers. Amongst them, there were people who were gifted in different areas. But when it comes to the church, we assume that service in the house of God is limited to the activities that are within the four walls of the church. But service in the house of God goes beyond the four walls of the church. The gift you carry might not even be functional in the four walls of a church. Your gift might be more even functional outside the church. I remember I wanted to make a website for somebody. And I was looking for people to help me make a website for that person. That's a minister that I wanted to make a website for. And I got someone to make a website for him. But what was strange, it was one of his members. One of his members was a website designer. And that person at church did not have a website. But yet amongst them, they are gifted people. Why? It is because though the Bible says occupy till he comes, we are not occupying certain areas. And we have animes that are showing these scenes and we think that is just entertainment. It's not entertainment, it is spiritual. Now I'm going to read a blog and I want you to pay attention because there are people that God is raising in these last days and I pray that you be amongst one of them. And I wrote this blog and this title is called Beyond the Four Walls, Rediscovering the Church's Influence in Culture. So I was trying to say that the church has been called to be influential. We're not called to establish just the four walls of the church, but we're called to a place of influence. Now, so I said when you look at history of the church, especially through the lens of the patriarchs like Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, we see something striking. They weren't focused on building churches or temples. Their priority was not architectural structures, it was life. Their focus was on building families. The early patriarchs, their focus was on building families, cultivating land, stewarding wealth, and the most important one was nurturing a relationship with God. Their focus wasn't building the church. Their focus was nurturing a relationship with God. Their focus was family. We see Abraham building wealth. We see Abraham building his family. We don't see Abraham building a church. The church came in the New Testament because we wanted places to gather. And why are we gathering? So that we can edify and encourage and help each other to grow. But the challenge is we build the walls and they became traps that people are not able to get out of the church and express themselves. One can be gifted in the church, but the church is not a place where gifts grow. It's a place where gifts die. Why? It is because the four walls have become a prison. So the church, the priority wasn't architectural structures. It was life. Their focus was on building families, cultivating land, stewarding wealth, and the most important, nurturing a relationship with God. The first time we see any formal place of worship constructed is during the days of Moses. Even then, it wasn't a church as we understand today, but a tabernacle, a mobile tent of meeting where people could atone for their sins, commune with God. It was a place of divine encounter, not routine gathering. The challenge we have in our times is routine gathering. It's no longer fellowship, it's routine. That's why someone can go to church and come back from church and their lives are not changed. Why? It is because it's routine. Now, in that same structure, which is a place which is supposed to be a place of edification, people are not being awakened to their gifting. People are not being awakened to their purpose. That's why someone can be an app developer in a church, but yet that church does not have an app. Someone can be a music producer in a church, but yet that church does not have music that can be able to touch and transform the world. Why? It is because the church in our time is no longer a place of growth. It is a prison for gifted people. He said, occupy till I come. He didn't say build structures that allow people not to express who they are. Yet, somewhere along the line, the church's focus shifted from building people, began to build structures. The church shifted from building people to building structures. The reason why we build structures is to build people. But no longer are we building people, we are now building structures. From cultivating culture, we have become comfortable in clusters. Our pews grow in number, but our voice in the world is diminished. Our pews are growing in number, but our voice in the world has diminished. We no longer carry a voice. Why? It is because the focus of the church shifted from building people to building structures. The Bible says, you are the light of the world, a city set on a hill which cannot be hid. Light has no value if it remains hidden. We have in some ways lost our place of influence because we narrowed our definition of ministry. We have assumed that as long as we gather in temples, sanctuaries, we're fulfilling God's mandate. But true impact happens when the church steps out into every sphere of technology, education, media, business, and even gaming. I've not seen a game which speaks about God or even the reality of Christ. Most games, the highest level is, I remember I was hearing some children playing games and they were saying, I want to become a Leviathan. I said, you want to become what? You want to become a Leviathan? What is that? They didn't know what a Leviathan was, but the Leviathan was the highest level in their game. But yet as the church, do we have games, systems? That animation that I was showing you, though it is for 16 years and above, yet the people that are watching it, they are being programmed to have a mindset to think that taking the lives of 10,000 people is nothing. Why? It is because after you take the lives of 10,000 people, you become what they are calling a demon lord. There is an assumption that it's just a film, it's just animation, there are just statues, there is no message, but there is a message. There is something deeper than what you're seeing. I'm sorry for being emotional, but I am crying because the church has been focused on the four walls that we've forgotten the real purpose that we carry. Why don't we have Christian-made games, films, cartoons that children can love? But the challenge is, even if we talk about the cartoons and the games that are Christian-oriented, most of them do not carry a creativity that can draw our children in. They don't. They don't. They don't. They don't. The challenge that we have as a church, let me now speak. I would encourage you, go to the blog. It's on my website, and you'll be able to receive so much from it. But the challenge that we have in the church is that we are no longer occupying. There are spaces we're called to occupy that we're no longer occupying. There are spaces we're called to have influence in that we're no longer having influence in. Do you know that the early universities were Christian universities? But they are no longer Christian universities because there are people that bought in to those universities that were not Christians and that corrupted the culture in those places. Where is the church? Is the church about building the biggest structure, or it's about building people with the greatest impact? That's what I want to leave you meditating on. Is it about building the biggest structures or about building people with the greatest of impact? What are we building? People or structures? God bless you.